Hello, everyone struggles to find leads, but here's 8 ways to help you. I hope you enjoy them. Hello, so it's Trevor Cutmore and it's Monday, and this week I'm going to talk to you about how to find leads and 8 ways that you can find them successfully. Now, I do want to precede this with a little story that happened this week. So this week, a week ago yesterday, I started a buy, refurb, refinance program, mentoring program, with 6 people on it, and from all different walks of life, lovely people. I was very fortunate with that. We did a first day and we did a foundational day, and then on Friday we all met in Stoke and we did what's called the estate agents day. So we went out, I gave them a script, and they went to estate agents to find leads and very much to understand what to say, how to get agents on their side, how to negotiate, how to find difficult leads. And we're hoping that actually one of them found something on that day. What was interesting, although from the very first day, one person on that group already has secured their very first deal, and we hope that the second one is not far behind. So that's a really powerful thing. However, why am I telling you this? When we arrived in the area, as we were walking round from the car park, I came across these 4 properties were all boarded up. There are shops and flats on top. So I said to the guys, look, this is an opportunity. So I said, look, I'm going to go into this shop, which is across the road. Don't come in with me because too many people in the shop is a bit scary. And I went in, it was like a ballerina clothes shop. And there's a mature lady there, and I said, look, I'm sorry to bother you. I said, can you tell me about the properties across the road? And she told me, she said, look, I thought somebody was going to be knocking them down and building them. She said, but for the last 13 years, they have not moved. They've just been like that. So I said, okay. I said, do you know anyone, who's associated, who owns them? She said, oh yes, this gentleman just up the road. He has this adult shop. So I said, okay. So I walked up the road, and sure enough, it's quite a big adult shop, and it had all these, let's say, costumes in the window, okay? But funny enough, there are 2 guys sitting outside smoking a cigarette, and there was one guy a bit older, a little bit older than me, grey hair. And I walked up and he made a comment because he saw me looking and talking about the shop, and he said, don't worry, I'm going to sell it soon. So I said, are you this guy? And named him, and he said, yes, I am. I said, well, I just found out you used to have the properties down there. He said, sold them, all 4 of them, and they looked horrendous. Sold for $525,000 by a local large company that when they bought them, I think they either were going to extend the company or make a car park, but they just expensed that $525,000 and did nothing with it for over 2 years. So it's very interesting. He told me the history of it and everything, but then local knowledge is everything. He starts to tell me about other things in the town, such as a nightclub that had closed down, but potentially you could make around about 10-12 apartments on it, and they would rent for around about £550-600, and it started to make sense, and the property was on for about £140,000. So we made some inquiries about that. But look, why am I telling you this? It's not always about having a strategy of doing one thing with marketing, trying to find your leads. It's everything you do. You've got to be a mile wide. It doesn't matter if you're an inch deep, but you must be a mile wide, and you must be ready to talk. So, some of the people on the program, I've talked about more self-confidence, about putting yourself out, about absolutely standing up strong, resetting the mind, and going with a lot of confidence. Even a way that we speak about ourselves, not to be apologetic and self-deprecating. It's very much say, I'm here, I'm looking for property, and go. But that's another thing that I teach on the program. Anyway, what are the 8 leads? First, number 1, you won't be surprised, estate agents. Look, they have over 80% of the properties. You can't negate them. They're one of the most important ways you're going to find property. Building a relationship with them is the best thing you can do. And the fastest thing you can do that is to show them your bank balance, that you have cash. It doesn't need to be all, but you have a deposit, you have the decision in principle. They want to move with people who can move quickly because they only get paid when you complete. So understand where they're coming from. They see you as a customer. A customer, if you've all got businesses or you work, imagine you don't get paid until that customer completes. So how long do you want to be buttering that, talking to that person if they're not going to complete? You need to put money on the table. They need to put money on the table. So understand that they want to work with people who can move and get things done. So if you come from that perspective, it's great. Unfortunately, a lot of agents today are not as good as they were because of people like Purple Brick, Springbok, these online agents. Obviously, you can get direct to vendor there. That's about options. I'll mention a little bit about that at the end. But it's very important. So estate agents, number one. Number two, letting agents. A lot of people miss this. Why would you go to a lettings agent? Well, there's a lot of older landlords, people who bought many years ago. They have been disappointed with things like the Clause 24 about the tax implications and how that's affected them, because most of them bought in their personal name, and now all of a sudden if they've got mortgages they're being penalised for that, and that was their pension. So a lot of older owners are looking to unload. So by speaking to letting agents, you're now positioning yourself to be direct to vendor. You might be able to take over a portfolio. Again, coming into the options again, it's a very powerful thing because you don't have to buy all of them, and there's a tax benefit when you don't buy all of them. You buy one a year for the next 10 years, whatever it's going to be, or 2 a year, whatever it is. But again, I'll tell you later about that. 3, and I have to say, you are going to meet nutcases in number 3, and that is Gumtree. So every week, I would actually club Gumtree and newspapers together. Newspapers, when I say newspapers, in London you're not going to find them, but out of London you'll quite often get the local papers, whether it's the Leader, the Chronicle, whatever it is. And normally on one particular day, whether it's normally a Thursday or Friday, they have classified ads for properties. When you get those, that's quite often people who own their properties and they don't want to use an agent, so they're advertising their properties to rent or to sell. You need to call both, not one, not just to sell, but both, because it's a very powerful thing. And again, if you want to learn more about that, I can help you with that. Number 4, and one of the most powerful things, so look, with the group that I started with, anyone that I work with, they have to have a leaflet. Have to. It's a must. If you haven't got a leaflet, then you got to get one. And the reason is, even when we went out, they had the opportunity to give that leaflet to someone in the street. They gave it to the girl in the restaurant that we stayed to. We gave several there. And listen, that young lady wants to find somewhere to live. She's a future tenant, and I've done this forever. All right, I'm not talking about mass leafleting here, but when I find people who want to be my tenant, I give them a number of leaflets. First of all, I ask them, where do you want to live? And they say, I want to live in this street. Now, I don't know that street, if it's 2 or 3 bedroom, or it might be 1 bedroom. I say, fine. I tell you what, if you put these leaflets out in that road, in the houses that you think are all right, especially if it's a bad house because I want to do it up, not only will I give you £500 commission, but I promise you, providing you pass all the checks, you can be the first tenant in there. I'll keep it for you. So now I've got tenants doing my marketing for me. I know many of you are going to like that, so make a comment on that one. The other thing, notice boards. You can put a lot of leaflets around in notice boards, whether it's supermarkets, anywhere there's notice boards, you can pop them up. Hairdressers, you can leave a pile of them in the hairdressers. They're quite often happy for you to do that, no problem at all. Department stores, okay, department stores, a bit of a cheeky one. Please don't tell people I said this, but a little bit of blue tack on the back of the ladies' toilet doors. They're not often seen, but what's the reason of the ladies' toilet doors? Look, when someone wants to move home, it is driven by normally the wife. it is, or the lady. They are driven because they want to go, and they come home and take a picture, or they take it and say, call that number, I want to get rid of it now. So it's a very clever one. It is, all right, but I didn't say a thing. Coffee shops. You can actually get small cards instead of leaflets if you want, and you can leave them round, whatever. It's just thinking outside the box a bit. Corner shops, you can pay and put those in the windows. We buy a house, we can rent your house, whatever. You need to have a presence. They're all the ones really for using leaflets. You should always have them in your handbag or in the glove box of the car or your briefcase. And when you go past a property that is in bad condition, out it comes, in it goes. Even my daughter does it from my glove box. Dad, there's one of those properties you think. Stop the car, she takes it, jumps out, stick it in the letterbox. We've just been out for a bike ride today. I've just seen 2 houses which I'm going to give her leaflets to go and leaflet. They are awful. I hadn't seen them before. She took me down these roads. I've never been down that road. Incredible. So, she might get £1,000 commission, but please don't tell her that either. If you get away with it, bless her. All right, number 5. So that 4 was leaflets, all different ways you can use leaflets. Number 5, and people miss this as well, commercial agents. The commercial agents are quite common. But what you'll tend to find, and people miss this, is that when someone has a piece of commercial land to sell, sometimes they've got some houses on there as well, and it's quite interesting. But it's always worth going to look. And then, listen, if you find a piece of land and there's some houses on it, if you want land which has got planning on it and you don't know anyone, then call me. Come to me. If it's got full planning and you can get some numbers, send it to me. And I'm always interested in land, all right? Really sort of the corridor from Midlands going down south. I don't really go too far north. But if it's good land, then give me a shout. Number six, builders. Great source. All right, I'm actually seeing a property later this Wednesday. Thursday. I'm seeing a property from a builder. He actually wants to sell it himself. He was thinking of putting it on the market. But I talked to all of them: the builders, the electricians, the plumbers, the plasterers, all of them. I'm asking them all the time: do you know anyone? Have you been in a house where they're talking about selling it? Please plug me in. I'll pay a commission every single time. I haven't got a problem with that. But I want to get direct to vendor. When I get direct to vendor, I have a much higher conversion rate than I do when I go to an agent. Why? Because it's competition. It's sense. All right. Plus, I can do a lot more creative things when I'm direct to vendor. I can give them more money. Why? Because of the options that I do. Okay. If I can add value to that property and I don't have to buy it and pay stamp duty because I can do a lease option on their property, and then I can add my money in, they get their full asking price, I get my money back, and it's a profit. Now that profit might come all to me, it might be 50-50, it might be different, but I can make money when I can get direct to vendor. It's great. Number 7, and this is the most important, is using your eyes. I started at this at the very beginning, and that was when you're walking around, you must look for potential. It's amazing that people, they just walk past and they miss it. But if you can look for that potential, you can make money. And that is anywhere. I mean, I was a chef for 25 years. I also worked a bit of front of house. But when you're a chef, you're constantly scanning. You're looking, making sure things are done properly. When you're front of house, you might be talking to someone, but you're constantly scanning from your peripheral vision to make sure that everyone is happy, that there's no body movement going on. This is really important. When you're out, my antennas are up, and even though I'm scanning roof lines, I'm scanning properties all of the time. Don't miss it. Start to train yourself. It's a bit like, look, let me tell you this. I know there's a word for it and I can't remember what it's called, but when Marie, my wife, got pregnant, all we ever saw were pregnant women. When we got a red car, all we ever saw was red cars. It was weird. You know what I'm talking about? So when you start to look for the stuff that you can add value to, all you're going to start to see is stuff that you can add value to. Just got to train yourself. So your eyes, very, very important. Number 8, and the final one in this session, is my favourite. I'm known for it, and that is being a tart. All right, and that means word of mouth. Simply, it's the most powerful one I know. Better than estate agents, better than everything else. And the reason is, I just talk to people. I do. I just say, do you think you're selling, do you know anyone who's selling their house? So if you ask direct, are you selling your house? You get reaction. Who do you think you are asking me that? If you say, do you know anyone who's selling their house? All of a sudden, some people might say, yeah, I'm thinking about selling mine. So can you see? I ask a lot of people, my mentees that are on. We have a lovely gentleman there, and at the end of our session on the particular place where we sat down, he just said to the waitress, he said, excuse me, do you know anyone who's selling their house? And straight away, he's growing in confidence. He said, thank you. And it just changes if you are constantly asking. Remember, if I'm asking you, who are watching this, do you know anyone who's selling their house? If you're not in a position to buy or add value or do anything with that house, then contact me. I might do it. And you get the commission. Nice idea. So look, ask. Quite often, you won't find out. And remember, if I got 20 leads, I want to do 20 leads. I want to do all of them. So how's that possible? Well, you don't always have to use your own money. You don't. I'm just doing a project now, which I will talk to you about soon. It's a really exciting project. You're going to love it. But listen, this was a short video just to tell you about how to find leads. I hope it's been helpful. Obviously, listen, finding leads direct is a really powerful way to go, especially using options. If you are interested in a lease option training course, I have one coming up. It's on the 13th and 14th of July in Cambridge. I will leave my email below. If you're interested, please email me. I'll give you more information. No pressure if you like it. I would look forward to seeing you next week. Please leave a comment. Please share my video. I love a share. I've got a little competition going with someone, don't tell them, to see if I can get to 500 subscribers. I think going out tonight it's 298. So if you can help me share around to get 500, I would really appreciate it. Have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you next Monday. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.